So I can safely assume that a majority of people on the internet, if not everybody at this fucking point, has gone and watched the Lilo and Stitch live action remake. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but holy shit, Disney, what the fuck are you doing? How do you fuck up this bad? It goes without saying, and if you couldn't tell by my tone, I fucking despised that remake. It completely misses the point of the original movie that it almost feels like we're being pranked. I legit can't tell what is real and what is fake anymore. And the reason I say that is because not only does it completely misses the point of the original movie by like everything. And I know for some people, Gantu, the main antagonist, not being in the movie is kind of whatever, but it's changes like those that make me feel like this movie's just straight up propaganda. It's so blatantly trying to be anti-woke that in good faith, I didn't even watch the movie in theaters, mind you. I pirated that shit. Like, you really think I'm gonna spend my money to co-support a $19.8 billion company that continues to give excuses for bad decisions because it comes down to, we just wanted to appeal to all audiences. We wanted to make our viewers comfortable. Or it wasn't in the budget, which is horseshit. It's the dumbest excuse you could give me, Disney. I'm being so deadass when I say this. I'm sick of those excuses. And I think everybody should stop settling for mediocrity from a $19.8 billion company that when they serve you slop, their excuse is always the money. When they have the money, they're on fucking top. They're one of the biggest fucking companies in the fucking world. It doesn't make any sense. But let's hop off Disney for a little bit. I'm not really, but let's just actually discuss what's my issues with the movie. As I previously mentioned, Gantu, the main antagonist, isn't in the movie. Their reasoning being that it just didn't work in CGI, but here's a little idea for you there. If he didn't work in the fucking movie and he's the main villain, maybe just don't make the movie. Plain and simple. Oh, and because he's not in the movie, they made Jumba the main antagonist, which is just baffling to me because yes, he was a villain in the original movie, but he was more of a goofy Doofenshmirtz kind of villain. He thought he was evil because he was considered an evil scientist, but he wasn't actually evil. He was basically the equivalent of like a silly fun uncle. That one uncle, that crazy uncle that comes over for holidays or whatever. That's the vibe he gave off. And then in this one, they completely sanitized him. He's so one note, and there's like some weird thing they added where they were trying to make it seem like he had a dark backstory, like fears of abandonment or something like that. But there's no payoff because he doesn't have a fucking arc in the movie. He remains a villain and stays a villain, and not even a compelling or interesting one at that, which is, I don't know how they did that. Honestly, I couldn't tell you how they fucked that up that bad. And he doesn't even have his cute little Russian accent anymore. What's the fucking actor's name, the guy who plays him? I can't even remember. He's so irrelevant to me, I'm sorry, but he gives him the most unappealing, just ugly voice. It does not fit the character well at all. And speaking of not fitting the character at all, we got Pleakley, who doesn't even dress in drag in the movie. The closest we get to him being in drag is the fucking actor. Again, I don't know any of these people, and I apologize for that. He just wears like a flower top or some shit like that, and I'm like, that's not... No. And again, if that isn't the most blatant anti-woke bullshit I've seen, because it's not like his entire thing was drag, but he's a very well-known drag icon. Everybody... That was his thing. Like, he enjoyed dressing up in drag, and Disney, and especially I can't help but feel like it's because of the current political climate that they just don't want to do that, because that's a conversation that parents should have with their kids at the right time, which is fucking never, basically, because as parents nowadays and these fucking weirdos, they think that talking about these things is going to somehow make their kids transgender, which is stupid. That's fucking dumb. I hate it. And it's so funny because there's a couple, I think there's an interview somewhere where the director is trying to bullshit it and be like, guys, we tried, trust me, we tried really hard to make Pleakley in drag, and it just didn't look good. And I'm like, then maybe don't make the movie, because it seems like every little thing they take out or they don't add to the movie, it just boils down to, we just didn't think it would work. We couldn't make it work. It just wasn't in the budget. Then don't make the movie. Just don't make the movie. If you're like, okay. Speaking of that, yeah, it comes down to a budget issue. That's, again, like I mentioned it before, they have the gall to say that it's a budget issue when it's Disney. It's Disney. And it's almost a giant slap in the face too, because on one hand, I can semi understand why they, let's say we believe their excuse of, oh, it wasn't in the budget to make these alien characters look good in CGI or actually blend into the human world, which, like, they're aliens, dog. Of course they're not gonna fucking fit in. Like, what? But let's buy that excuse for a second, right? Why couldn't they still have made Pleakley, the human version of him, or the human disguise, still dressed in drag? I'll let you answer that one. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And again, it legitimately it feels like they're trying to appeal to a certain demographic. They're trying so hard to, they're scared of being woke, which is funny because I feel like when Disney actually cared about representing other cultures and other people, whatever, it actually worked out for the most part. Not everything, obviously, but and the reason why I say that is because, I mean, it makes sense why the original Lilo and Stitch movie is still so fondly remembered, is because I think if I recall, Disney, like, the execs didn't really mess with that movie too much. They were kind of like, yep, you guys got it. We'll let you guys do your thing, for the most part, because then there is that one deleted scene from the original movie where it was very blatantly tackling the racism and criticism on tourism and colonialism in that deleted scene, where we have, Lilo, she's just strolling around with Stitch. These fuckheads, they show up and they're like, hey, do you speak English? Which way to the beach? She's just there as a commodity for these tourists. And, it would make sense that Disney wouldn't want something like that in their movie when they have their fucking resort in Hawaii, because, oh, we can't do that. We can't make fun of these tourists, because those are business. We need to sell to the tourists, which is, fucking gross, dude. But yeah, so they have that whole scene, and in that scene at the end of it, Cobra Bubbles, he witnesses the whole thing where she basically pranks the tourists and convinces them that they're all gonna die because of a tsunami alarm or whatever. And it's so sad to think about, because her excuse, or her, I guess, response to the judgmental look he gives her is, if you lived here, you'd understand. And again, this movie just completely misses the mark. It's like the people who made this live action genuinely don't understand what the movie is about. Which, speaking about that, oh my god, the entirety of Ohana, which means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten, well, apparently none of that shit fucking matters. And this is going into spoiler territory, but I doubt it really counts as spoilers at this point, because, again, I can imagine most people have seen the movie by now. Ohana doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit, because I guess Disney's version of being a girl boss or caring about your family means giving up your sibling to the United States government. It means putting them in the foster care system. And I know people want to bullshit it and say that, well, it wasn't that bad because she has the portal gun. She can just visit her whenever she wants. But then again, it feels like such a cop-out, and as if the fucking resolution or the ending wasn't already dog shit to begin with. Nani would never do that. In the original film, Nani would fight to the end to make sure that her and Lilo stayed together as a family. And that's another thing that goes on in this movie. A lot of these characters just become so sanitized that they're so devoid of who they actually were as characters that it doesn't even feel believable and it doesn't feel like them at all. To give you a further example, in the original movie, Nani, obviously, she's the older sister, and siblings, they bicker, they have their moments where they're angry at each other, they have conflict, but it was believable that they actually held such a close bond, especially given the fact that they just lost their parents. All they have are each other. And one specific example I can think of is when Nani gets fired from that one tourist attraction restaurant, fake luau themed, whatever the hell it was. And it's obvious that she did lose her job because of Lilo and Stitch. And Lilo asks her about that. She gets worried and asks, like, hey, did you get fired because of me and Stitch? And just because she cares about her sister so much and she doesn't want her to feel like she's a burden to her, she tells her, no, the manager, he was a secret like vampire or some shit like that. And meanwhile, in the new one, she really just straight up says, yeah, it's your fault. It's your guys' fault. I lost my job. Which, again, I get siblings can argue and I get they have their moments. But Nani would protect Lilo. And they had a believable sibling dynamic that's just completely erased in this film. Even in the moment where Lilo shows off the Elvis Presley song coming out of Stitch's mouth, in the original, Nani gets woken up at like 7 a.m. and Lilo just like shows this to her and she's both, why the fuck did you wake me up? Like she has that expression of, oh my god, why did you wake me up for this? But also she is slightly curious, like what the fuck? How is this possible? And it's just those little moments like that show so much characterization within seconds. And then there's even times too throughout the movie, and actually now that I'm thinking about it, in that specific scene, they did the same thing in the new one, and she just like completely ignores Lilo. She like doesn't even give a fuck, and I'm like, that's not Nani at all. Like that alone should tell you that these people who made this movie don't understand these characters at all. And then speaking of which, then we cut to Lilo, who for a lot of people, including myself, she was a very relatable character for those who were neurodivergent or just anybody for that matter, because she was very isolated. A lot of these kids did not fuck with her. They thought she was a weirdo, and she was. Like, she was into taking pictures of the white tourist, the fat white tourist. Well, I don't know if it's actually just the white fat tourist, but white tourists in general. And one could argue that she did that almost as protest, because in her own homeland, she's treated like entertainment. People be like, oh my god, a real native, which is a thing that was said in that deleted scene, mind you. So I don't know if it's 100% confirmed whether she does that because of that, but it's I guess implied. And she has that weird thing where she feeds the fish Pudge. She feeds the fish Pudge every week a new sandwich or whatever the hell, because he controls the weather. And it's implied later in the movie that the reason she does that is because her parents died in a car crash because it was raining that day. But the thing is, again, even in like the movie, they kind of just brush that aside. It's like a one-note joke, or like it's just said and then they're like, oh, we forget about it. It's not that quirky, guys. Or even her interest in voodoo, which one could, or like if you guys paid attention in the original, she does have that book about like voodoo. She takes like those spoons that look like her quote-unquote friends, and she says like they need to be punished, which again, and that's the thing too, like parents don't want to see a child being portrayed like that because it would make them uncomfortable, and we can't have that, guys. We got to appeal to the parents. We want parents to have these uncomfortable conversations with their children about, hey mom, why is this kid doing this? And we don't want parents to have to explain that, she is very isolated because her family's dead, and it's so dumb. Lilo would often lash out because, again, she would get picked on, she would get bullied, and she had nobody else there for her besides her sister. And then in the movie, in the new one, the remake, there's like one instance where she lashes out, and it was just like a gentle shove, which, why, like, I don't understand this thing where we're not allowed to have flawed characters, or we can have these quirky, relatable characters, but we can't have them struggle too much now. That none of that, please. And it just doesn't make any sense, dude. It's so ridiculous. There's so much I hate about this movie, dude. And it makes me sad because there's people who are genuinely defending this movie with their life, and I just, no comment. Actually, a lot of comments, but that's besides the point. now that actually, there's actually another thing too that did bother me a lot with this movie. Like, this is the thing. With me, it's like, I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to something that's based off of something else being retold, there being some changes. There's nothing wrong with that inherently. But I think that there is a difference between retelling a fairy tale and retelling an original idea, an original story, mind you. Because the thing with fairy tales, and I know people are probably about to comment saying some shit like, oh, so then why do you not care that Little Mermaid was changed into a black woman, or played by a black woman now, even though she was Danish or whatever the fuck? And I'm like, dude, firstly, that's a fucking mermaid. Who gives a shit? Secondly, fairy tales, which is what the Little Mermaid is, were literally made by people for people to retell. They're meant to be changed and adapted to over time. However, I do think it's strange that we're trying to retell a story about two native Hawaiian girls who are struggling to keep each other together because they're all that they have, and they're now being basically forcibly separated by the American government. Like, do you not see the problem there? Especially when in the fucking movie, Lilo straight up tells Nani at one point, like, yeah, you're so smart, you should go join the Marines. It's so blatantly propaganda, dude. Like, I fucking can't. Even like the fact that the fat tourist guy in the original movie, like the one with the really bad sunburn, they literally changed them to be a native Hawaiian. Like, I'm like, why? That defeats the whole purpose of the joke. The joke is that we're poking fun of tourists because tourism, believe it or not, affects Hawaii a lot. Colonialism, it affected Hawaii. It's quite literally why Hawaii is considered part of the United States, but that's a whole other thing that I'm not so fully, I guess, informed on. So there's actually a really good video by Lindsay Ellis. She briefly mentions that in her Pocahontas video, so if you guys want to watch that, go watch that. She's way more enlightened, more informed about that than I am. So yeah, that being said, I did also want to talk about Nani, the actual actress for her. Sydney, I can't pronounce her last name, I'm so sorry, but you know, I try really hard not to hate on the actresses or any of the actors involved in the film, but it is so telling that, mind you, she's not even native Hawaiian, she's white and Filipina, where both David and Lilo, and I'm pretty sure the other irrelevant side characters they added, are also native Hawaiian. So it feels so, I don't even know what the word is. It's genuinely fucked up, I think, in my opinion, especially given the fact that, like, let's ignore the fact that she's not even Hawaiian. She's a light-skinned lady. And if you pay attention in the movie, she wears what I'd imagine is a very bad spray tan. So they're quite literally darkening her skin so she can appear as Hawaiian. And whether it's intentional or not, that is, I feel like that's brown face. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, why not just cast someone of a darker complexion who is also native Hawaiian? And I can't help but feel like there's colorism going on with that. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised, to be honest, because I'm forgetting what other movie. Actually, no, not a movie. They did that shit with the Avatar Last Airbender, the Netflix series, the live action one, or the fuck, which you guys don't want my opinion on that because I don't fucking like it. Sokka, he wasn't even indigenous either, so crazy, right? And then Katara, who, even though I know she is indigenous, as far as I know, I can't honestly remember off the top of my head, she's also way lighter skinned than both the actors for Katara and Sokka for the live action Avatar series. They're both way lighter in skin tone. And again, I can't help but feel like they just don't want to cast people of darker skin tones in anything nowadays. And in the crazy part is, and when we do, then we have those inevitable people being like, why the fuck are they? Why are they not white? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's so stupid. But anyways, I kind of went off point there a little bit. But the thing I was also going to mention about Nani is, I don't understand this change they made with her where she wants to now be a marine biologist, which wasn't the case in the original movie. She was a professional surfer actually, but she obviously had to give that up because she had to, take care of Lilo. I almost feel like, again, this is coming off as that very weird mentality where you're supposedly less of a woman if you don't have a career, like if you don't go to school and shit, which is so dumb. But again, let's ignore that for a second, right? why the fuck does she have to move out of Hawaii and onto the mainland into California to pursue marine biology, as if Hawaii isn't surrounded by marine life, as if there isn't fucking beaches, oceans everywhere. They live on an island, dude. It just doesn't make sense. I genuinely don't get that. And again, it quite literally just feels like propaganda, like, oh yeah, guys, abandon your fucking your homeland just so you can pursue a good old American career up in the main states. Like, what? And it's also insulting because I'm pretty sure Hawaii is known for having one of the best institutions for studying marine biology. And I've heard online that apparently Native Hawaiians can actually get their tuition paid for if they're studying marine biology. So again, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And also, now that I mentioned a bit earlier that they added these like random ass characters. Why? When again, that just completely misses the point of the original movie, where it's not that Nani was incapable of holding down a job or that she was incapable of taking care of Lilo. It was the fact that she had no support system. She would get a job, but then because no one's there to watch Lilo would usually, get tagged along. Or like when Nani was job hunting, right? She had to bring Lilo along, and then her and Stitch basically fucked up her chances every time it came around to finding a new job. However, now she has this random neighbor who I guess would sometimes take care of Lilo. And she was the one who went to go take Lilo to go adopt Stitch, as opposed to it being Nani, even though the whole point of Lilo getting Stitch to begin with was because Nani felt bad overhearing that Lilo was wishing upon the star that she wanted a friend that wouldn't leave her. Which also, now in hindsight, I would be fucking furious if I left my sibling or my kid or whoever, and they're like, hey, can you watch them for me real quick? Comes back and they have like a fucking animal that now I have to take care of. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then also too, then there's like this new service agent who, it's not even Cobra Bubbles, mind you. Cobra Bubbles is just straight up a CIA agent, and it doesn't even come off as a surprise later. It's just immediately, it's not blatantly stated, but the reveal of him being CIA just, it's not really a surprise. But yeah, this new service agent who I can't help but feel like it's kind of a slap in the face that it's played by the original actress or voice actress for Nani. I mean, cool, they got her back, that's at least something, but I personally would think it's a big slap in the face considering how much they butchered this movie. But yeah, she basically just gives Nani like a checklist, basically like, hey, so you should probably do this if you want to keep Lilo, even though I guess it doesn't fucking matter anyways, because even the neighbor lady at the beginning of the movie is like, yeah, you should really go to college. Okay, yeah, make that make sense. It legitimately just undermines the entire emotional core of Nani's arc. And also, again, it completely goes against what was going on in real time, in real life, with a lot of these indigenous families. It erases the native Hawaiian identity and trauma. It's just crazy to think about because natives in Hawaii had to push hard for ICWA, which stands for the Indian Child Welfare Act, and it was created to protect native children and prevent them from being taken from their families and placed with non-native families as a way to civilize them. Those actions resulted in lost cultures, identities, and broken communities. This movie was it's not blatant, but it was very much criticizing the foster care system and just showcasing how these social workers, these, child services, they would remove indigenous children from their families. Do you not see the problem with that? I know I keep repeating it, but this movie just legitimately feels like propaganda. Like it's just pro colonialism and tourism and pro foster care system, even though the foster care system sucks, especially for indigenous children. It's just baffling how they fucked up this bad, especially given the fact that they also had a longer runtime, but it feels like every little thing they added was just stupid. I can legitimately only think of one positive in the entire movie, and that being Stitch, because it's just voiced by the original guy, Chris Sanders, which I won't lie, considering that he worked on the original movie as well. It's just a slap in the face watching your own creation get fucked up like that, and you're like, but I guess the paycheck's a paycheck. It's even more fucked up when they add certain scenes, and it's just like, well, clearly it doesn't matter, because I know people talk about it all the time, but the scene where Nani sings Aloha Oi to Lilo, that song was literally about the last monarch of Hawaii. That's her song to the land that the U.S. is quite literally trying to demolish. It's literally the United States taking her away from her land. And that's what's going on between Lilo and Nani. But, Disney doesn't give a fuck about that because, we can make Stitch more marketable. Which, speaking of which, it's the same thing with Lilo, where he's incredibly toned down for no fucking reason. Like, this dude is built for destruction. Why is he way more baby mode? I don't understand that either. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there is actually another thing I didn't mention in this original recording, because for those of you who don't know, I put up a poll to ask you guys whether you wanted a completely unfiltered rant about the Lilo and Stitch live action movie, or if you guys preferred to have it be cut up. And the majority of you guys actually voted to have it be completely unfiltered. So if you guys ever want to take part in polls like that, they're usually over in my post on my YouTube channel. But if you want to actually get a full-blown, say in it, or to have your choice matter, I'm going to actually start doing those polls over on Patreon. But I will, from time to time, continue to post them on YouTube. So that being said, the thing I wanted to actually mention that I didn't mention the first time around is the removal of the ugly duckling. The inclusion of the ugly duckling, the whole story behind that, is actually really important to Stitch's character arc, because he sees himself as an ugly duckling where nobody wants him and he wants to find a family. And to have that removed from the live action remake is just, I know I've been mentioning so many things, like, why do they do this? This is another one of those things where I'm thinking to myself, why did you remove that when it was such a genuinely an integral part to this character and his arc? But I guess to them it doesn't fucking matter anyways, because as I mentioned before, they 100% toned down both Lilo and Stitch in terms of their weirdness and how they would lash out and get aggressive. For what reason? I'll let you guys figure that one out on your own. I hate the fact that they really toned down their characters, both Lilo and Stitch, because they were a parallel of each other. It's not the biggest wow jaw-dropping thing to notice, but if you watch the original movie, at the beginning when Stitch bites Captain Gantu, there's that moment where he asks the people on the ship, the other aliens, does this look infected to you? And they literally draw a direct parallel where Lilo bites that one bitch Myrtle, and she starts asking her friends, does this look infected to you? They are parallels of each other. They mirror each other, and that's why they work so well. Their dynamic works so well, and that's why they're drawn to each other. They grow to love each other genuinely. Lilo wanted somebody to stitch their family together, and that's what Stitch does. It's all symbolic, but again, in this movie, it's completely devoid of that, and it just ruins the story further. And I could also, point out the fact that the CGI, for the most part, is okay. Stitch is probably, the best looking part of, the movie. But even then, there's just parts where it's so ass. There's a couple scenes, too, where you could just tell, the animators or whatever the fuck, there's just, no quality control from Disney. Because there's when Lilo's talking to David. She's like, oh, David, look, I got a new dog. And she's just pointing at the fucking ground. And somehow they didn't pick up on that, and Stitch is not even on the ground, he's sitting in the baby chair. And then at the end of the movie, when Stitch is saying goodbye, Nani's petting the fucking air. It's not even, she's not even making contact with Stitch. Those are all just little things. I just feel so disappointed, dude. Especially in the people who, again, here's my thing. If you like the movie, good for you, I guess. But I feel like I'm in the opinion where even if this movie was just a thing on its own, it still just undermines its own story beats. What's the point of talking about Ohana when it doesn't mean shit? Where Ohana means, I guess I'll give you up to the foster care system. And again, it just feels like a cop-out that their, justification for that happening is, well, she can just stay with the neighbor. that didn't even fucking exist until this movie. Like, I don't get it. And also, again, why the fuck does she have to move to California to study marine biology? Like, that's just the most fuck-ass thing I've ever seen in a movie. Like, holy shit, they missed the bar completely. And, I mean, if you like the movie, good for you. I don't know what to tell you. I guess you guys just enjoy soulless corporate media slop. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And it's funny, too, because, I mean, I know people are gonna get on my ass and say, oh, but it's for the kids. Who cares, right? Well, that's such a fucking stupid excuse, because I feel like media should be for everybody, and it should be able to be of a high caliber that it can be enjoyed by everybody. And I know people are also gonna call me out for, you know, I guess not justifying, but like talking positively to some extent about the Minecraft movie. And with that I say, at least it's a fucking original idea. I know it's based off a game, but it's still an original movie at the end of the day. And the fact that this movie had something to fall back on as a basis for what should be in the movie, what shouldn't be in the movie, how should we handle this now that it's in live action form, and they still fucked it up. It's so laughable, and it honestly just makes me upset, because even in like movies like Meet the Robinson, where that movie was not blatantly anti-AI or like blatantly anti-staying in the past and moving forward, it just doesn't make sense. Like, well, Disney, dude, I am so sorry. But also, am I really? I don't know, dude. Maybe this is how it would have been if he was still alive. I don't fucking know. But yeah, the movie sucked. I can only give it like a 1 out of 10 if I'm being generous. There's really nothing positive I can say about the movie. Again, it feels like the most anti-woke propaganda bullshit I've seen, and the movie's just not good. If you liked it, you can go ahead and tell me why, I guess, in the comments. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really got anything else to say besides that. That's it for me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.